What's up, y'all? It is your girl, Tiffany, aka Opinionated Diva. Welcome to the 11th episode of Plenty of Tiff. This is my angel episode, so I am manifesting all the great things that come with putting in the work to keep this podcast going, okay? I feel like this is going to be the episode that really catapults me into the stratosphere. And by stratosphere, I mean one more subscriber. I'm okay with that. So without further ado, let's get started. First up, the Diva Drop. We have to talk about the hot girl taking over the Big Apple in a way nobody saw coming. Oh, I know it ain't. I know it ain't. It's the Stallion. You know it's your girl. Megan Thee Stallion officially made her Broadway debut this week as Zizzler in Moulin Rouge. So the reports are in. You know that classic Minnie the Moocher scatting that happens in the opening? Yada, 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 yada. Odie, 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 oh. Gone. It has been replaced with body yaddy 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 and the curtain call a full-blown medley of WAP and Savage. So I'm sure Broadway peers are probably clutching their playbills, but the hotties are turning that theater into a club, and honey, I am doing both, clutching and twerking. But as if Broadway wasn't enough, Megan dropped a brand new campaign this morning, literally hours before me taping this episode. She teamed up with the Canadian rockers Nickelback. They did a Pickles Back parody of their song This Is How You Remind Me of What I Really Am to celebrate the return of flaming hot dill pickle Cheetos. Meg has actually been talking about this for years because she stuffs flaming hot Cheetos inside a dill pickle. My heartburn will never understand, but it's a Houston thing that she's turned into a global check, okay? So I'm not mad at it. But between this, Juvenile making a Cash Money comeback, and the 90s nostalgia trend, the 99 2000s are up and stuck. And I hope it stays this way all 2026 because it really was a time to be alive. But back to Meg. Look, I love a multi-hyphenate. I love that she's showing these young artists you don't have to stay in one lane. Meg has the Grammys, she got the brand partnerships, and now the Broadway stage. But if I see a press release, Meg, saying you're launching a podcast, we're going to have a problem. Leave the mic and the headphones to your girl, Tiff. Do we really need another celebrity podcast? We are out here in these streets building an indie empire episode by episode. So I'm happy for all artists with their continued growth. I really am. But leave a piece of the cheese for me, a morsel. Meg, keep the music accolades and flaming hot pickles. I'll keep the Plenty of Tiff listeners, okay? Deal? Deal. Now it's time for one of my favorite parts of the show, Shine, Shade, or Side Eye. First up, I am giving all the shine to comedian Druski. Can we please give this man his flowers? Honestly, I wasn't really paying attention to his shenanigans until last year when he had us in tears with that mega church parody. It was spot on. Between him being a preacher hanging from the rafters and singing Kurt Franklin, honey, I was sold, okay? But now he has turned his sights on Erica Kirk, and I am here for every single second of it. Druski is truly an equal opportunity offender. He sees the conservative trad wife, save the world influencers getting loud, and he's giving the people exactly what they want, a mirror. Satire is a lost art, but Druski is keeping it alive, honey, by showing us just how ridiculous these personas really are. Shine on Druski and keep impressed. But to flip the coin, I am giving all the shade, and I mean the deep, dark, you can't see your hand in front of your face kind of shade to Erica Kirk. In case you missed it, while the rest of the world is actually trying to progress, Erica is on a quest to save the white man. She literally said behind tears, I'm sure she didn't know was falling down her Botox and filler-laced face, and no shade to Botox, honey, because brand partnerships, hello, I'm looking for you. She said, don't let anyone disenfranchise you because you're a young man, especially a young white man, because they have it so bad, don't they? But shout out to all the young white men who actually know how disenfranchised they are not. And yes, they do exist, and they are 100% cute too, because I see you. Erica, ma'am, it is Women's History Month. We are out here celebrating trailblazers, glass ceiling breakers, and the women who actually had to fight to be in the room. And you're using that platform to advocate for the group who has, let me check, literally always had the microphone, make you choke on the blandest, driest loaf of rye bread in existence. Give me a break. And to the conservative pundits and anyone who is currently having a coordinated panties in a bunch moment over Druski, let's have a chat, shall we? I've seen the comments. I've seen the viral whatabouts. The main argument being some version of, well, if Erica did a skit in blackface, she'd be canceled and called a racist. Why is Druski allowed to do this? Right? That's been the sentiment. First of all, let's talk about being born without a blues clue. Because some of y'all are truly out here hunting for evidence of a double standard while standing in a house built on a triple one, or dare I say quadruple. To compare Druski wearing a prosthetic to parody a specific political archetype, I wouldn't even give her that, to the history of a blackface is high-level child's play. It's that if they can do it, why can't I energy that belongs in a sandbox, not in an intellectual discourse? But here's a factual gem you can take back to the group chat. Blackface is not just makeup. It was a systemic tool created in the 1830s to dehumanize Black people, to depict us as buffoons, and to justify slavery that, by the way, the UN voted to call the gravest crime against humanity. Yes, we saw that U.S., Israel, and Argentina voted no on that. Surprise, surprise. When you put on blackface, you are putting on a mask of oppression that was used to keep people in chains. When Druski puts on a prosthetic to play a conservative woman, he is putting on a mirror. He isn't mocking a race. He's mocking a persona. He is mocking the Save the White Man tour. He is mocking the I'm victim energy. Satire is about power. When you mock the group that has historically and currently held the most power, that's called punching up. It's meant to expose the absurdity of that status quo. When you mock a group that has been historically marginalized, that's called punching down, to enhance and amplify those stereotypes. Erica or anyone like her who believes what she believes, you can't mimic it in any other way because there has never been an historical trope of white people that has been systemically dehumanized via whiteface to justify their enslavement. It just doesn't exist. So you're trying to play a game when the rules of history don't even apply to you. You aren't oppressed because a comedian put on a blonde wig and some latex. You're just uncomfortable because someone finally found a way to show you how ridiculous you look advocating for a disenfranchised white man during Women's History Month. If you want Erica to stop being a parody, stop being a mockery of the very progress women have died for. Because at the end of the day, Erica, you can buy the prosthetics, bitch, but you can't buy the perspective. And until you can, see you next Tuesday, lady. Fortunately and unfortunately, I have to keep this same energy going for another topic that has been trying to keep a low profile but ended up in the headlines this week. We're giving a massive, unblinking side eye to the ongoing whitewashing of Mahjong. You heard me. The New York Times just put out a piece about this new and modern Mahjong sets. And y'all, I can't. We are seeing these companies, mostly run by women who just discovered the game, redesigning the tiles to fit a minimalist aesthetic. Megan Jet Trottier, she's the founder and chief executive of Oh My Mahjong, a lifestyle brand that sells Mahjong sets. And her interior designer, Ro Rind, are the cover girls of this feature article. And I use cover girls as loosely as my curl pattern after using 40 Developer, okay? Trottier said, and I quote, "Mahjong is becoming this beautiful way of hosting, not just about slapping a game on a table." New York Times actually used resources and God's good font to type that. Basically, what they're doing is swapping out traditional Chinese characters and symbols for pastel colors, flowers, and chic branding because the originals were apparently too confusing or didn't match their living room decor. And I love all those things, but seriously, let's be for real for just a second. Can you imagine if someone walked into a park in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, or a backyard in Crown Heights and tried to hand out a set of dominoes covered in aesthetic jewels and floral patterns? Imagine slamming the towel down with a cute little succulent on it instead of, the black dots that are supposed to be there. It's ridiculous, right? When you think about it, the dots aren't just decoration. They are the soul of the game. They represent the history, the sound of the slam, and the culture of the people that have been playing it for generations. So when you strip away the symbols of Mahjong just to make it pretty for a certain demographic, you aren't improving the game. You're erasing the people who built it. And for the likes of those like New York Times, I have an even bigger side eye for media outlets that are amplifying this. Every time a major publication treats this like a fresh new trend instead of a cultural gentrification, I have to ask, is this actually journalism or is it performative curiosity? And that's going to be the phrase of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Performative curiosity. That is when media outlets act interested in a culture only when it's being sold back to them in a fancy box. So keep your pastels. We'll keep the heritage. Side eye to all of it. Mahjong and dominoes. And finally, we have to address the elephant in the room. And no, I am not talking about my recessionista, gel manicure, and seafoam green. I am talking about a man who has managed to turn the entire world into his personal method acting stage. And frankly, the audience, aka me, is tired of the show. It is time to read the room, and who is better deserving of this honor than the one, the only, Shia LaBeouf. Let's take it back to February, shall we? Most people go to New Orleans to catch beads. Shia went to catch hands. He was caught on camera at the R Bar, I love New Orleans, allegedly headbutting bystanders and yelling homophobic slurs at a queer man and a drag performer. And the best part, the locals didn't care about your transformer money, honey. Shia got his ass handed to him, and they held him till the cops came knocking. Till the cops come knocking. Shout out Maxwell. As if this isn't bad enough, he then goes on a podcast and tries to explain it away by saying, and I quote, "Big gay people are scary to me. Sir, you are almost 40 years old. You are not scared. You are projecting your lack of self-control by a way of seeking empathy for homophobes of America." Then, because of course he didn't stop there, and the privilege, of course, a judge gives him permission to fly to Rome for his father's baptism. And what does he do with this religious grace? He crashes out across Italy, and the receipts are everywhere. One, he was filmed in his underwear in a hotel lobby begging strangers for a match. Then he was caught on video just a few days ago yelling, "fuck off," at a woman sitting at a restaurant table just pacing in the streets of Rome, yelling at the sky. And then the moment he lands back in New Orleans, he's immediately in a shouting match with the police outside his house crying about being a target. Let's do a think piece real quick on the troubled artist versus a dangerous menace. And I promise you the comparison is going to be a masterclass in how the media is a judge and jury shapeshifter. Take Lil Nas X's single arrest versus Shia LaBeouf's 2026 world tour of chaos. The double standard is just, okay. When footage dropped of Montero walking down Ventura Boulevard in white underwear and cowboy boots with a traffic cone on his head, the media immediately pivoted to drug overdose and public menace. He was hospitalized, thrown in jail over a weekend without the option to bail out until he was seen by a judge on the next Monday. Shia was caught in Rome, wandering in a lobby in his underwear and yelling at strangers in restaurants, and the media narrative, erratic behavior, troubled history. There's almost this air of, oh, that's just Shia, rather than the dangerous drug user label that was slapped on Lil Nas X, right? So despite the physical violence and hate speech, a judge released Shia on his own recognizance, no bond, initially. Later, that same judge gave him permission to fly to Rome for a family baptism while his battery charges were still pending. Montero, meanwhile, was again held in a cell for days for a non-violent, albeit bizarre, honey, public stroll. Do with this opinion observation what you will. I've honestly, seriously, tried to ignore all of this about Shia LaBeouf. I don't really care enough, but my timeline was being force-fed his BS. And then this. And I'm like, okay, Tiff, you got to talk about it. FKA Twigs, his former girlfriend, officially filed a new lawsuit in LA to void the NDA from their 2025 settlement. So the complaint read, California law does not and must not allow abusers and bullies to silence survivors through secret agreements containing unconscionable, unlawful gag orders. But Shia's legal team, and I can only imagine they are clones of him in better suits and a few more brain cells. They tried to argue that the law only protects survivors of sexual assault and not sexual battery. To argue that you're a batterer and not an assaulter as a legal defense, this is the definition of a man who thinks he can wordplay his way out of anything, including accountability. Shia, I don't care how good of an actor you are or your celebrity activism, which is in question. You are a bottom tier human. You are a waste of molecular space and a waste of the second chances that most people never even get. So while you're out here yelling at the sky and yelling at cops and trying to fight drag queens in New Orleans, we are all watching you lose the one thing you can't get back, honey, and that is my respect. So read the room. And there you have it. That's a wrap. This is your girl, Tiffany, and I've had a wonderful time on my 11th episode. If you have any topics that you want to hear about, or if you want to drop me a DM, please feel free to hit me up on Instagram at Opinionated Diva. You can hit me up on TikTok at The Opinionated Diva. You can hit me up on Spill at Opinionated Diva as well. And you can hit me up on YouTube, where I want you to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe at The Opinionated Diva. And that is 2 E's. Okay. So thank you all so much. And until next week, honey, I'm pretty sure there'll be plenty of mess to talk about. Peace.